The pandemic has obviously affected Americans' physical and emotional and psychological well-being. Obviously, COVID had a death toll over 1 million. But a couple of years out from the pandemic now, it appears that something is still affecting Americans in terms of our health. And there's a new report. Gallup has done a bunch of polling about people. And I want you to take a look at some of what has changed over the last year. So obesity and diabetes rates have been jumping since 2020, with obesity now at 38.4% among adults, diabetes at 13.6%, and you can see the precipitous rise just since 2020 there. Broken down into different age groups, obesity rates in just the last 4 years have jumped 6%. And in some groups, among like 45 to 64-year-olds, 8% in a period of just 4 years. Even for the youngest Americans, it's up 3% in just 4 years. And when you look at how the pandemic experience, remote work, things being locked down, and all of that has affected us, almost everything has changed. Americans' eating habits have worsened just in the last 4 years. We eat significantly less fruit and vegetables than we used to. And it's not like before the pandemic, Americans' diet was great or anything. It turns out there was room to decline. The amount of exercise that we get is down. Measures of well-being, like psychological and emotional well-being, are down. And this has been going on for a few years now. It's changed rapidly. And Mondale, I don't know how true this is to your experience of like the people around you, but I am very worried about this. It's not just COVID, it's not just long COVID, which doesn't get talked about enough, but we really do seem to have changed in terms of exercise and diet. What do you make of this?
I mean, I'm a walking evidence of this. Like I've put on weight. I'm heavier. I eat horribly now. I used to ride my bike 50 miles a day, John. Like
50?
Yeah. Sometimes 100. Like on a Saturday, I would do a century on my bike. And since COVID, I've not been on my bike in any real sense of that. I am eating more fast food. I'm using Uber Eats more. I'm less in grocery stores. I'm a baker and a great cook. That's what my family tells me anyway. And I'm doing less of that. And I also believe that like I feel like my mental is slower than it was. It's harder for me to recollect. And I think I'm a person who's been blessed to not have COVID ever, but I still have the other physical effects of the COVID lockdown and everything that came along with the with the virus.
Yeah, it's definitely affected me too. Not as much as perhaps the audience thinks. Muad'Dib said John can't walk 1 mile. Damn. I walk 1 mile. I'm not gonna ride my bike 100 miles or anything. But yeah, look, some of this, I think the fact that a lot of people are working at home, you are traveling less, perhaps walking around an office less, that makes sense. Some of the diet stuff could be affected by the difficult economic times that a lot of people are in since the pandemic began. But there's also there's stuff beyond that. There's like things have changed the way that we spend our time, including our weekends, the amount that we meet up, and I just like this is not good. Like the quality of life across the American population is going to be massively affected by this. And it is possible that this will reverse itself in 3 or 4 or 5 more years. But unless we focus on it, unless we talk about it, I don't think that's going to happen. So this is just sort of like a warning sign. It's like a red flag being raised. I hope that people see it and get the support that they need. Psychological support, emotional support, and financial support to start taking care of themselves better. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.